Welcome to the Joffrey Podcast. My name's Bubba. You can find me on Twitter at FittenTrim. That's FITTENTRIM. At FittenTrim on Twitter. And with me, as always, is somebody who I know wanted to drink poison after this painful episode. It's Capt. Oh, no. Catfish is not here. He is in Hawaii, theoretically doing well, and it's most likely 4 o'clock where he is. I'm on vacation here on the East Coast. It's 11 o'clock where I am, but we are going to break down Season 7, Episode 3, entitled The Queen's Justice. Because Catfish isn't here today, no one can replace Catfish. So I needed 3 people. No one person could. 3 people could. I've called in experts from the Double P Podcast. If you download the Double P Podcast, you're going to see our reviews of things like Harry Potter and Star Wars The Force Awakens. And this crew helped me with that. We're going to start it off with Big C. Big C, how are you doing? And tell everybody how they can find you on Twitter.
Hi, everybody. You can find me on Twitter at Caroline1475.
And with her is a young millennial who will give us the millennial opinion of Game of Thrones. It's Jack. Jack, you got any social media presence you want everybody to know about?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, too, at JCM741.
Excellent. And finally, for someone who's going to give us the tween opinion. No, I'm kidding. It's Will. Will, you got any social media presence, or you just want to say hi to everybody?
No, I'm the Night King. He does not use Twitter.
Well, this Game of Thrones is it's a lot of times a social interaction is some of the best part of it. And so we're going to go around and we're going to ask everybody to give their ranking to this episode out of 10. I'm going to start us off. And I am going to go. Wait for it. I'm going to give this episode, The Queen's Justice, I'm going to give it 10 double E's out of 10.
Double E's?
Well, double E's, you guys, if you're in the podcasting Game of Thrones community, you know that double E stands for Euron Epiphanies. I have had an epiphany. I've kind of, like, the first episode of the season, I'm like, boy, I kind of like Euron. Last episode with his awesome sea battle attack, I'm like, man, this is the greatest. This third episode, I've had an epiphany. I'm Team Euron. Hell yeah. No. He is successful. He is cocky. He is a go-getter. He loves talking trash. I love talking trash. Euron Epiphany, 10 out of 10. Why in the world am I going so high? I can't think of a single thing I would have liked to improve about the episode. I'm super high. I think we have different ratings around the room, so let's just go around the horn. Big C, what do you think?
I'm giving it a 10 also.
Oh!
It's a 10. I mean, the Jon Snow, Daenerys interaction, that you could have just done that the whole episode and it would still be a 10. I loved it.
All right, Jack, get in here. What do you think?
I'm giving it a 7.
Whoa. 7's still pretty good.
7's pretty good. And you know what? It was the Daenerys Jon scene was both my favorite scene and my least favorite scene.
Ooh, well, we're going to get to why it was your least favorite in a minute, but that's very intriguing. Let's go to you, Will. What do you think? What's your rating out of 10?
I would say I'm the toughest critic of the group, I've seen if you listen to the Force Awakens podcast. But I'm actually going to give this episode a 10 out of 10 also. I decided this before I heard them. I think it did a great job not dragging. We had some great action. I think we had the best all around the board. It was one of the best episodes I've seen, maybe the best.
Whoa. That is high praise indeed. Listeners, we got to do some housekeeping before we continue on with the podcast and break down this 37 out of 40 rating for this episode. First off, we normally give away prizes. I apologize because I'm on vacation. I don't have the big list of names to draw the big prize from. What does that mean? That means on next week's podcast, we're going to be giving away 2. That's right, 2 prizes. If you're new to the Joffrey podcast and want to know how you can get a prize, all you have to do is simply, when we tweet out, there's a new Joffrey podcast with the link to the podcast, or when we put it on our Facebook page, facebook.com/double P podcast. That's the word double, the single letter P, the word podcast, plural. You share that on Facebook or you retweet our link to the podcast. You get one entry in. If you retweet it and share it, you get 2 entries in. The way you can get a 3rd entry is go to that Facebook page, facebook.com/Double P Podcast. Like the page. That way you can get a 3rd entry. Apologize, no prize this week, but that means 2 next week. Everybody get ready. Finally, because we know you love Twin Peaks and we know you love The Strain, and they are both on TV right now, go to the Facebook page to learn about our podcast about those great shows, as well as Ash vs. the Evil Dead, and all the great things we do here on the Double B Podcast Network. We are psyched about these 4 remaining episodes of this season. We want you to join us, possibly for the long winter, as we wait for the final season. All right, guys, let's get to it. And I am so intrigued, Jack, by your ranking and your love and toughness with the Jon Daenerys scene that I think we need to skip the opening credits. The opening credits didn't have the 2 new locations we went to in this episode that we've never gone to before. Not even in the show, not even in the books. We've never seen Casterly Rock. We've never gone to Highgarden. And so to see them both, in some ways, you know me, I love the opening credits, but they weren't in the opening credits to keep that surprise that they were in the episode. So let's get to a place we've spent a lot of time, Dragonstone. Jack, get to it. Explain why you love Jon and Daenerys and why you were frustrated with Jon and Daenerys.
Well, it seems I'm looking around the room and I'm getting some strange looks right about now. It looks like I kind of have an unpopular opinion.
No, honestly, we want to know.
But what I thought was when it started out, everything was perfect. There was a lot of electricity going around. You feel the tension. Jon and Daenerys are staring each other down, and I was like, oh man, this is it, fire and ice. And then I felt it was kind of anticlimactic. Daenerys says, bend the knee. Jon Snow says no. Jon Snow says, send your dragons to the north. Daenerys says no. And then he leaves.
Well, he's not. No, he's not allowed to leave. Mm-hmm. She says he's not her prisoner, but he is because he can't leave.
Well, what did you want to see, Jack? What did you want to see rather than this kind of the 2 rulers, the two monarchs butting head? What did you want to see?
I guess something else besides, they were very cold to each other. There was absolutely nothing they agreed on until Tyrion came along and started trying to help Jon. If Tyrion wasn't there, everything would have gone completely disastrously.
Well, you're absolutely right. And the episode even starts with Tyrion. It's kind of fun to see Tyrion and Jon Snow reuniting. They haven't seen each other since the 3rd episode ever. The 3rd episode of Season 1, that's when they saw each other. They even reference the fact that they said goodbye to each other on the top of the wall. Davos is there. He sees lovely Missandei, and he's like, this place has changed. Hello. Davos is like, I never would have left if there were ladies like this here. But also, there's trouble right at the start. Jon Snow, his team Norther said, oh, the queen wants to see you. Put down your weapons. Jon Snow, he called himself stupid. Was it stupid to put down his weapons? Let's go around the horn. What do you think, Big C?
Yes. Well, I mean, I guess he had to, but going back to the week before, it was stupid. He shouldn't have gone. He should have listened to Sansa. He should have sent a raven, sent an emissary, but he shouldn't have gone, and I think he knows it. They're using it to his advantage, or I guess Tyrion saying, okay, you came, we'll do what you want to gain an ally, but yeah, shouldn't have gone.
Will, you've been kind of silent. Get on here. What did you think of Jon Snow, Daenerys, the aunt and her nephew? What did you think of those scenes?
Completely disagree with Big C on this one. I definitely think the king coming was the best move for Jon.
Why?
Because if he sent a maid, there's no way they would have listened to the dragon glass. First off, Tyrion never would have even talked to get to the dragon glass. They would have been kicked out right from the door, if not murdered hanged by the stake and burnt by dragon fire. So I think it's a great move. Sansa is fine. Jon's not really known as a big leader, so I think it was the perfect thing. I think the scene was great. I think it was the drama of them just looking at each other and the moves, just the looks going back and forth. I think it was a great scene. That's my opinion.
Yeah, that's great. The thing I'm looking forward to, I hope this happens in a future episode, is Jon interacting with the dragon. I wonder if he's going to have some control or some...
Yeah, they're also building a relationship, too, now. It's like Daenerys and Jon, like, they finally know each other. Like, the worlds are all starting to link together, and it's all starting to come together. Winter is coming.
It's still coming.
Winter's here, baby. They're together. You know, there were a lot of conversations I just want to briefly talk about and then get your opinion on. Real nice that Tyrion asked about his wife, Sansa. Does she ask about me? Apparently the answer is no. She doesn't really talk about you, Uncle Tyrion. But then, everybody, I want to know, and if you can come up with a prediction now, great. Listeners, if you can come up with a prediction now, go to our Facebook page, tell us what you predict. Really great little moment between Melisandre and Varys. Melisandre really only hasn't done much this season, but she said, later, guys, I'm going to Volantis. But she said she is coming back. She said she's coming back to this strange country. She's like, I have to die in this strange country just like you. Varys, I've been saying it for a while, Varys has to die. Varys, you know, he likes talking trash. He's like, yeah, you should leave. You shouldn't come back. You're not safe here. And then she's like, I have to come back because I'm going to die here just like you. And then Varys, I would say he lost some parts of him, but he already lost those parts. Do you guys want Varys to die? Yes or no? Let's go the opposite way. Will, what do you think?
Yes. He has quite the balls for someone with no balls. And I hope he gets stabbed in his face or cut up into pieces. He can suck it.
Oh, no.
He's terrible. I hate him.
Oh,
and
no.
I like villains. I like Cersei. I like Joffrey. He's terrible.
All right, Jack, what do you think? Varys, do you want to see the eunuch die?
Well, you know what? I still have a lot of questions about his character. In the last episode, he gave us a whole speech about, you know, oh, my allegiance is to the people. I'm going to serve the people. I don't know. I really don't. I think he's hiding something. I've been thinking he's hiding something from episode 1.
Well, we know certain things he's not hiding in his robes.
And so I want there to be a twist with him of some sort. And after the twist, I want him to meet a horrible end.
Okay. Big C, what do you think? Varys, you upset to learn that he's not going to apparently survive the series?
No, I'm not upset. He can go. But you do wonder, is he double-crossing Daenerys?
A lot of people have wondered about that.
Is he double-crossing her? Because she's kind of...
She's got bad luck, that's
She's
for
not
sure.
doing well these last 2 episodes.
One of the reasons why I went 10 out of 10 is the episode had lots of humor. And even in this Dragonstone scene that, Jack, you're tough on, Daenerys, we hear, you know, we all use a bathroom break when they start listing all of Daenerys' titles. And then Jon Snow looks at Davos, and Davos looks like, this is Jon Snow. You know, that was a great moment. Also, kind of little fun Easter eggs. Daenerys loves to talk trash. She goes, I'm the last Targaryen. And all the audience is like, not exactly.
Dragon flies right over.
Right, yeah, you missed that hitting you in the face. I want to ask you guys a question, and I don't know if you remember it. Listeners, I want to ask you a question. Once again, tweet at me. My name's Bubba, at Fittentrim, Fittentrim, or go to our Facebook page and let us know. Another thing that I just had a question in my own mind about. Jon Snow, you need the help. You want the dragon glass. You want the dragons. Why don't you just, bend the knee? Mance Rayder, if you can remember way back to the beginning of Season 5, Stannis was like, Mance Rayder, you bend the knee, I'll let all the wildlings through the wall, they join my army, it's all great. Mance Rayder wouldn't. Mance Rayder ended up dying for it. Long story short, the wildlings did end up joining the army that took down Ramsay Bolton. Do you agree, yes or no? Or deep thoughts, why wouldn't Jon Snow bend the knee, and is that the right reason? Is that the right move?
It was absolutely the right move to not bend the knee. Why? Because if he did bend the knee, then Daenerys would feel entitled to then use his forces to help take over Westeros. You can't bend the knee and then say, no, you can't use my forces. I'm trying to protect against the Night's Watch. It's a very difficult position he's in, because also by bending the knee, that would betray the trust of all the Northern Lords.
Okay, anybody else have a strong feeling about bending the knee, yes or no?
No, I believe I mostly agree with what he said there. I think that was good.
Yeah, it was just a great moment when he said no.
Well, following up, we'll just stay here on Dragonstone the whole way through. So it kind of ends in this infamous stalemate. Later, as you were pointing out, Jack, we saw Tyrion walking along the beautiful cliffs there. We believe this was shot in 2 different places. Some of this was definitely shot in Spain, the stuff with the kind of the awesome little long walkway that they're on. But then some on the tall cliffs we believe was shot in Northern Ireland, because the Northern Ireland kind of Game of Thrones account was tweeting that out. It's like, hey, come visit this. But we see Tyrion trying to work his magic, his hand to the king. He believes Jon Snow. He had a great line. He goes, sometimes it's just easier to be more comfortable confronting believable monsters like my sister. What a hilarious line.
That was great.
We get to the dragon glass, and then Tyrion, another funny moment. He gets called out where Daenerys is like, are you trying to present one of your own sayings as if it's ancient, old, wise wisdom? Really good. But then, let's get to it. Daenerys, she gets the bad news about what happened to the Dornish and the Ironborn fleet that was on her side with Yara Greyjoy and Theon. Plus, she's in trouble. She hates Euron. She pitches, hey, maybe we should just hunt this SOB with friggin' dragons. Her team says, you can't, hunting dragons in the seas is going to take, hunting boats on the sea, which could be anywhere in the sea, even though Euron's gone to King's Landing twice right past her there on Dragonstone. Is the team right that Daenerys can't just spend the next maybe month looking for Euron and burning his fleet? Or is she right, hey, I've got dragons, let's go kill this person who's causing me all the trouble? Anybody feel strongly about that? I have to be honest, I think that they're right. You have the dragons. Yes, Euron is currently kicking your tail. He's kicking your dragon tail. But to go on a wild goose chase, which it could be, I think they're right. I think she's got to use her dragons more intelligently, more smartly.
I don't know. She's gone down, like we said, the last 2 weeks. I mean, it looks like from the scenes for the previews for next week that she's ready to just get on the dragon and go, and I don't blame her. I mean, if you can just use the 3 dragons, knock out Euron, knock out everybody else, and preserve your armies, then I think maybe that's the way she should have done it. And that's also what the lady told her last week.
Yeah, that's what Yara Greyjoy was saying. Listen, you got dragons. There's King's Landing. Everybody, Ilaria Sand was saying it.
No, who's
and Olenna Tyrell was saying it. Everybody was saying it. Daenerys listened to Uncle Tyrion. Ugh. Mm-hmm. Anybody want to defend? Anybody want to have a thought on this?
How about this? The show's going to be keeping Cersei in. You got to have that, Lannister aspect. The show is keeping her in. I feel like there's pretty much no way Daenerys is going to be doing the right move here. And then on top of that, does it really matter? When are these White Walkers coming? We don't know what's going to happen. I feel like this is almost
we may never see the White Walkers.
The White Walkers are coming, okay?
But just a prediction, I don't know. I think Cersei might beat Daenerys.
That would be a big shock.
I think she might.
That's not beneath George R.R. Martin.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to have these happy, perfect ending where it's Jon and Daenerys, Iron Throne, everything is perfect. That's not going to happen. I think we mostly can agree on that.
I agree. Are we glad that she's, throwing out this kind of peace offering? She's saying, okay, listen, you mine the dragon glass, sure. If you need any help doing it, you can use my people. That's an olive branch. That's a bit of diplomacy. That's good.
Yeah, fine.
Agreed.
All right, so let's go just briefly. Daenerys learned of the tragedy of what happened, and she's like, well, we lost all the Dornish. Did we lose all the Greyjoys? And, of course, they cut to Theon. Theon gets pulled out of the water. His men, they're like, your sister's dead. And he's like, well, I tried. And then one of the other Iron Islanders say, you wouldn't be here if you tried. Oh.
Right. Yep.
So is there anything Theon Greyjoy can do to redeem himself in your mind at this time? Or is it just pointless? Theon, just stay off the boat. What do you think?
Well, poor Theon. But it would be great if he could still come to the rescue of his sister. She's still alive, but it probably isn't going to happen.
If he had nothing else to do in the show, he would have just drowned. And they wouldn't have shown him in this episode. And the fact is, Daenerys seriously needs to do something about Euron. So hopefully Theon will try to redeem himself. I think he's pretty.
Now, Will, you want Theon to die?
Theon is a pussy. He can die. He is pathetic. He's terrible. I hated the girls anyway, but he can die.
You're giving him the same ranking that his uncle Euron gave him. Yeah. All right, so let's go to the person who seems to be really doing well. She may not have 3 dragons. She might not even have 3 total kingdoms of the 7 kingdoms. But Cersei is doing really, really well. When we get to King's Landing, it's my boy, it's my Euron marching the prisoners through town. He is just loving this. This is like a victory parade of a sports team. He wants all the adulation. He's still laughing about Theon jumping overboard. He says, what a twat. And, one thing, and I think it was you, Will, who said this, the King's Landing people, they're throwing probably rotten food. But, Will, I think you said, or maybe it was you, Jack, said, winter's here. You got to save food. Save something. Throw pebbles. Keep the food. I thought that was really smart. All right. Euron brings in the team. He brings in his prisoners. As they're bringing him in, Ellaria sees the mountain who killed her lover, Oberyn Martell. And, of course, she's like, oh, no. And Euron, I love him. He looks at Cersei and he goes, I give you what no other man could give you. And he's just staring down Jaime like, I'm giving you people that this bozo couldn't. So the handmaiden, so just following through this, the handmaiden has cut her hair to look like Cersei. Cersei, who just blew up half the city. People are like, okay, if this is who we're following, let's get on board. What do you guys feel about Cersei right now? How do you feel about Queen Cersei?
Cersei was terrible as a mother, but she's great as a bitch. And that's what she is, and she's doing it very well. She doesn't care. She feels very powerful. She is very powerful, and they pretty much have no other choice but to follow her.
And she can get revenge like no one else.
Do you like her? Do you want her to get revenge?
Yeah, I love to hate her.
Okay.
We'll put it that way.
I think pure evil is a recessive trait within the Lannisters. It showed in Joffrey, and his mother also has it. Now, don't get me wrong. The stuff she comes up with is so devious and so dark. I kind of like it.
Yeah, she is great. I want to point out one thing that I think she's messing up on. Now, Will, you said she was great at being a bee. I think the new saying should be "Payback, Cersei." But she got this great prize from Euron. Euron is her only real ally, and she keeps putting him off. Mm-hmm. He's like, you know what I want. You know what I want. Hello, put a ring on it. And yet she's like, I'll marry you when the war is done. Is that... And then later, the guy from the Iron Bank, Cersei's talking up, I've got the greatest captain of the 14 seas, Euron Greyjoy on my side. Iron Bank guy says, for now, can Cersei trust this guy? No, I love him, but no. And she should seal it as best she can. Of course, that may also lead to her downfall being married to him, but I think she's missing the boat. Ba-da-bump. So that's what I thought.
They don't call it the Iron Bank because people are able to take huge loans out and then not pay them back.
Right. Oh, boy. Well, theoretically, we'll get to that in a sec. They stole a bunch of gold from Highgarden so they can pay the Iron Bank so they'll still be on their side. But before we get to that, I do think we need to give it up to Cersei, who knows how to do payback. She knows how her daughter Myrcella was killed. And that whole scene, it's very tense. You know these two are dead. You know this is just terrible. But Cersei, who talked trash about Oberyn talking trash when he could have just walked away and the mountain had died. But she's talking trash, but then when she went to kiss Tyene Sand and have Tyene Sand poisoned and die in front of her mother down there in the cells, that is stone cold. And also awesome. It's great to see. Is anybody wanna pour one out? Anybody wanna say any last words for Tyene Sand, the last of the 3 stand snakes that we got to know on the show? Anybody?
If you actually liked these women, please go on Twitter right now and comment us. I feel like we are not going to be getting any tweets about this. I hated them anyway. I thought that was great.
Well, it was a big buildup for how is she going to kill them. You know they're dead. And I think the way that she's killed her the exact same way, and she's like, you're going to stay awake.
Oh, yeah.
I will force feed you. You will stay awake, and you will witness.
Yeah, I mean, they all know they're going to die, but she just makes it so much more dramatic than it actually has to be. She just makes it so much worse for them.
You know, it seems to be a reoccurring theme within the Dornish family. Oh, don't mess with the Dornish prince. He's got poison, and he's really good with a spear, and then he met a horrible end. And then, the sand snakes, they're pretty bad. They've got poison, too, and they'll fight you off with knives, and, now they're rotting in a jail cell. Poisoned.
Yeah, a lot of people in this episode went out the way they had done others. I thought it was, call me crazy, I know a lot of people had trouble with the sand snakes in season 5, and I did too, but for some reason, in their brief appearance here, in this season, I've actually kind of liked all of them and kind of been a bit sad. Obviously, they're very cute ladies, so that may be playing a part in it, but I'm kind of like, oh boy, it's a bit like Septa Unella, who, boy, we haven't seen what the mountain's been doing to her. You didn't like these people, but now you're like, oh boy, nobody deserves that. But somebody who really liked that sand snake dying was Cersei, because she became very randy. She wanted to get a little handy with her brother Jaime, her brover, if you know what we mean. And we saw at least some beautiful stand-ins for both Jaime and Cersei. I mentioned that she had her hair cut. So now here comes another thing, the Iron Bank. Where is this going? Is this just somebody else she's going to kill? Cersei, this guy from the Iron Bank who's like, hey, we need our money. Cersei says the Lannisters always pay their debts, but they don't have the money. What do you see? Do you see this going anywhere, or is this just a more fodder for Cersei to kill?
I can't figure out why, Cersei's surrounded on all sides, and there's a girl with 3 dragons trying to take over the Iron Throne, and she still somehow talks this guy into investing with her. It was mind-boggling to me.
The Iron Bank guy kept loving that she sounded so much like Tywin. He's like, oh, your father's daughter, your father's daughter. Oh, my goodness. This guy, he loves ruthless people.
Well, can you explain to me, the Iron Bank, is that from like the Iron Islands?
No, good point.
I don't
The Iron
know
Bank
that.
of Bravo. So, yeah, there's the Iron Throne, the Iron Islands, the Iron Bank. People need different adjectives, different descriptors. So the Iron Bank is the richest bank in the world, they say. And Robert, through Littlefinger, actually, it's important to note, Littlefinger kind of allowed Robert to spend, because Littlefinger was the master of coin, put the kingdom in debt. They borrowed a lot, obviously, from the Lannisters, but the Lannisters couldn't pay enough, so they went across the narrow seas to Braavos, borrowed more and more money. That debt, originally the Iron Bank was so frustrated with that debt, they put some money on Stannis. That's down the drain. So now somebody had to come to King's Landing and say, hey, we need the payment. Mace isn't singing anymore. He's ashes. Somebody's got to pay us. This guy's from across the narrow seas. What's interesting, and this is just a little book tidbit, Cersei's talking about, Daenerys ruined the slave trades. That's got to be bad for business. The show kind of papered over this, but even when the show was talking about Braavos, they explained that Braavos was a city founded by escaped slaves, and so people in Braavos and the Iron Bank would be against slavery, so that would be another reason they should be on Team Dany, Team Daenerys. But I think the show just wants, once again, this banker to stay with Cersei for a while. I hope it's not just so Cersei kills him, but we'll have to see how quickly Jaime can get that gold back from Highgarden. Real quickly, let's go down south. Let's visit the Citadel. Are people upset or happy that Sam reads a book, and Sam, even though he's not even a maester, can cure grayscale? Ser Jorah's alive. Sam isn't kicked out of the Citadel. He's now going to become a Xerox machine. What do you guys think? Are you happy Ser Jorah's alive? Are you happy what's going on with Sam?
I think the Sam part is kind of dragged out a little bit. Something I really liked about this season, it's like, I was thinking if Jon Snow was going down in season 2, or in one of the earlier seasons was going down to visit Daenerys, it would be a 2-season journey across the water. This one, the next episode, he's already there. The Sam thing is boring. He's a loser. I don't like Sam. Okay?
You gave this episode a 10 out of 10, Will. This is Sam well hating.
I enjoyed the part, but that doesn't mean I like Sam. He's a loser. Get out of this stupid book factory.
Well, now we know why you don't have any social media accounts. All the Samwell fans will be attacking you. All right, Jack, what do you think, Jack?
Jon Snow says, Sam, I'm sending you to school so you can be a maester because we're going to need a doctor during the long night. It's a long time to become a maester. I think it's dragged out too, and the poor kid just keeps having to copy down stuff and do menial, hard task work, and then he proves himself and is like, look, I cured this really deadly disease. I'm a really good reader. And the guy's like, all right, fine, copy scrolls.
Well, it's going to come back. Okay, I think what we learned is Sam is a good healer. He maybe has a talent for it. Okay, he's got a talent for it. And number 2,
could he heal Bran? How about that? Could he heal? A White?
Forget about Bran.
We'll see. But he's going to be copying all this information, and he may remember it, and it may come back later. I remember that.
I like that.
Let me say something else too. Ser Jorah, this guy gets knocked down. He gets back up again. He goes, banished from Westeros, so he goes to Daenerys. Daenerys banishes him. He comes back. She accepts him again and then sends him away because he's got grayscale. I was like, all right, well, now we're not going to see him again. He's healed. What's he going to do now? He's going back, and then I don't see what his future holds. I'm very confused.
He's going to do something.
Daenerys won't recognize him because he won't be wearing that yellow shirt he wore for the first 6 seasons. All right, I have to go to you, Will. Will, you hated on Sam so much. Any hate for Ser Jorah? What's going on here? Any thoughts about him getting back? Sir Friendzone getting back to his girl? Any thoughts on him?
I feel like they built it up a lot, and now he's just done. And it's like really? What were we being dragged through all this for? If you're just gonna let him leave free, fine. I mean, I would have rather seen him die or at least put on the edge. Yeah, I mean, I do like the fact that he said Samwell is now a healer. I do like that, but I would have rather seen something more dramatic happen to him.
Okay, all right. Well, we've gone pretty far south to Old Town in the Citadel. Now let's go. We didn't spend too much time here, but you guys tell me. I don't know what to call her. Queen in waiting Sansa, leader of the North Sansa while Jon Snow's on his crazy mission. What do you guys think about her? She comes out. She's very wise. She's like, hey, why aren't you putting leather on that armor? This is winter. You got to get it cold. She's like, hey, we got to get the grain wagons here. This is the place where all the battle's going to happen. Uh-oh, bad sign. Let's hear your thoughts. Sansa as a leader. Anybody like Sansa? I thought she was really strong in this episode.
Well, she's been strong the whole season, giving
Sorry.
out wise words of advice.
All right. So I guess the whole way I see Sansa is I love her when she's by herself leading the North. I absolutely hate it when Jon Snow's leader because every other sentence she'll interject and just say something. And I think she steals the light away from Jon a lot because I really like Jon.
I agree. I was going to say that too. I thought it was awesome when she, released the hounds on Ramsay. I like Sansa as a character, but I also think she needs to shut her mouth at times.
Oh, hey.
Agreed.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Boy, Well, they need some social media accounts on you so they can send some hate. I thought Sansa so far this season has been giving great advice at times. Jon and Sansa, this is on both of them. Have you ever had a pre-meeting before you have the address?
Yeah.
Somebody writes the talking points before you go out and address the masses, guys. But I like Sansa a lot. I thought she's doing very well. I thought it was very interesting. What I almost want to give a shout out to Littlefinger. Littlefinger, I think actually some of his advice here was pretty good. Now, his first mention is to have an eye on Cersei, and that's always probably pretty smart. But his fight every battle. Nothing will surprise you if you think of every single option. I actually thought that was possibly good advice, because if Sansa's saying, boy, we need all the grain here, Winterfell could be ground zero for all the attacks, she should be thinking about every side, and I think that's a good idea.
Littlefinger, to me, is exactly like Varys. I think the most dangerous characters in this show are the ones who say less and just fall back, and they appear in places, they move around a lot, they seem to have a lot of allegiances and knowledge, but yet they don't ever say, oh, well, I'm absolutely 100% for this person.
Yeah, I think Littlefinger has a lot of potential. I think I'm expecting big things from him, and if I'm not going to receive these big things, I hope the White Walkers destroy him.
And, they may get their well, I'm not sure they'll get their chance. I think there are a lot of people, including a recent arrival to Winterfell, who know so much. The one thing Littlefinger always said was, knowledge is power. Well, if knowledge is power, Bran's about to unleash the dogs on Littlefinger. And I want to say this, everybody, last season, when we finally had a Stark reunion between Sansa and Jon Snow, they talked about how emotional it was. Now, Jon and Sansa really had never had scenes talking to each other ever in the series. Last season, it didn't hit me. There was something about this arrival of Bran Stark that I really did feel the emotion of it. Why am I 10 out of 10? I really did feel it. I felt more and more emotion when Sansa was hugging Bran than Bran felt. Bran's in Three Eyed Raven mode. He's not the life of a party, but I felt it. I think maybe because Bran has that weight of the worlds on his shoulders. He's like, I'll never be Lord of Winterfell. I thought that was really strong. And then Bran, when he's the Three-Eyed Raven, and then when he explains what that means, and he's talking about, oh, it was so terrible, but it happened, and you looked so lovely. The scene was so lovely here in the snow. If there's one thing Sansa doesn't want to be reminded of, it's her wedding night to Ramsay, and I thought that was a powerful moment. We need Bran to get in the game, because if knowledge is power, he's number one. I'm actually always been a big Bran fan. I love him in the books, and so it was good to see him. Anybody happy that the only heir to Ned Stark, the only male heir, to Ned Stark is back in Winterfell?
I don't know if happy is the right word, but I did also feel the emotion a lot. I think that is why I gave my 10 rating, is all these scenes in this episode, I felt the emotion. I dug into the episode. I really was a part of it, and I think they did a great job. I'm ready for Bran. He's about to open up Pandora's box.
Yeah, he could.
All right. You can see everything, and you can see through trees, and you can see back in time. How's that going to help you against the White Walkers? He's got to.
Theoretically, they've been at least stymied once before.
We've had prophecies of, Lightbringer. We've had prophecies of, the coming of a hero. We haven't, the first time Bran talked about the Three-Eyed Raven is when we heard about the Three-Eyed Raven. We haven't heard any prophecies about the Three-Eyed Raven. And so I, once again, am curious as to his future.
Well, I hope it's good. I felt the emotion of it. I just want something good to happen to these Starks. In these mini reunions, they make it happy. I feel like, in all honest disclosure, if I'm saying Jon Snow and Sansa really had never had scenes together, Bran, based on what happened to him at the end of the first episode, it's not like he and Sansa had ever had scenes where they talked together before.
I want a reunion with Ghost. That I read online that the only reason we haven't seen Ghost is because it's too expensive to animate him. Well, they don't seem to have any problem spending all that money to animate the dragons. I want to see Ghost.
Well, but I cheered when I saw the dragons, too, so you got to keep those dragons in there. But I'm really anxious for Sansa and Arya to reunite, because they did spend a lot of time together.
Yeah, that whole first season was about their relationship. The thing about the direwolves, they're trying to take real wolves, upsize them, and then digitally matte them, kind of paint them into the scenes, where the dragons are a completely 3D creation. I saw the most recent Planet of the Apes movies. Those are pretty darn believable digital apes. We need some digital direwolves. Forget the real direwolves making it big, putting them in the scene. Just get up there and give it to them. All right, so now let's get to the episode closers. Tyrion is talking us through his plan of how the attack on Casterly Rock. Oh, I thought it wasn't exactly how I imagined Casterly Rock to look based on the books and other things, but I still thought it was a cool thing. Grey Worm went into the sewers, attacked. This was a triple S.
Triple S?
It was a silly sewer scheme that evil Uncle Tyrion came up with because it seemed like it was working. Will, were you talking about Grey Worm kicking butt? Which one of you guys was impressed with Grey Worm kicking butt in the assault?
Yeah, Grey Worm was unbelievable. Throwing the spear into the guy, that was awesome. But then again, I thought he was explaining the attack, and I was like, this is really going fast. This is a really big battle. And I was like, something's wrong. I guess I didn't know, but I definitely thought something was a little off on how they just went straight in and just clean slate with Casterly Rock there.
They had so many intimate scenes in this episode. I feel like they really had to cut out a lot of the action. I loved the scene with Grey Worm, but action-wise, that was the only scene. And they cut out the whole part where they stormed Highgarden.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a great scene. It wouldn't even have to be long. Just take the Lannister army and just show everyone how absolutely worthless and pathetic the Highgarden troops are. That would have been wonderful.
I loved the action on the assault on Casterly Rock, but the twist, the / reveal, where Grey Worm's like, where are the other Lannisters? Where are the other Lannisters? And then they have that reveal that, some people complain about jetpacking. Euron Greyjoy, these trips he's making in his boats are kind of completely unnaturally fast. But when Grey Worm looks up and there's Euron taking out all the boats that brought the Unsullied there, that was just a shock. That was such a great shock that I was able to overlook there was no battle to be like, oh no. Maybe we should have seen this coming. Grey Worm gets love. He gets his night of passion with Missandei last week. You know what happens?
That's a sure sign what's coming.
Right.
The end.
Right. Maybe it's better to be a eunuch. You won't ever have any passion and you can live to the end. But let's just say it. Let's have some predictions. Is Grey Worm going to be Dead Worm? Yes or no? Let's go around the horn. Will, Grey Worm or Dead Worm?
If you've ever watched this show, you know the answer is yes.
Wait, Dead Worm?
Dead Worm, yes.
Jack.
Dead.
Euron better pray that Grey Worm survives, lest release the wrath of Daenerys Targaryen and leave his fleet in a smoldering crater. I mean, maybe, I guess one of the possible outcomes for the next episode is in a last heroic attempt, Grey Worm throws a spear and is able to get Euron, but I highly doubt it.
So you're saying Dead Worm?
If Grey Worm dies by Euron's hand, Tyrion is not going to be able to talk Daenerys out of absolutely burning the entire ocean.
All right, let's have our final vote. Big C, what do you say, Grey Worm or Dead Worm?
I don't know. Euron didn't kill the sand snakes or
Yara. Good
or
point.
Yara.
He wanted to bring them
So
back,
right, but he may hold on to Grey Worm for a reason too. I don't know, but I think the main point is that Cersei has won again. So the last 2 weeks, Cersei got the point.
And let's go to her final ultimate victory. Jaime Lannister. This was a great burn. He says, I'm using the plan Robb Stark used against me. There's always lessons in failures, Lady Olenna. You must be very wise then. But he They abandoned Casterly Rock. Makes so much sense since Tywin a couple seasons ago told us there's no more gold in the mines of Casterly Rock. He marches the army south. They take Highgarden. You're right, Jack. We didn't get to see that attack, but it was still a sight to behold. It should be noted that in Jaime's march on Highgarden, we saw Bronn, his new right-hand man the last couple of seasons, but we also saw Samwell's dad, Randall, and Dickon Tarley were there next to Bronn on the horses. They have flipped sides. They are theoretically going to be the new leaders of the Reach. Sam's dad isn't so obsessed with his sword anymore. Jaime goes into Highgarden. He gives some poison wine to Lady Olenna. House Tyrell officially gone. Thoughts? Are you guys happy that the Queen of Thorns got it? Glad that she went out swinging? Happy that the Lannisters are winning? How do you guys feel in this final scene and about the state of Westeros, of the seven kingdoms, as we leave them at the end of this episode? What do you think?
I thought that scene was better than Daenerys and Jon, because Lady Olenna doesn't take crap from anybody. And she's like, if I'm going to die, I'm going to make sure that it's a thorn in your side. I'm going to make sure you remember me, and I'm going to make sure Cersei remembers me. And she's always been, I think, one of my more favorite characters, because she's very, I'll do whatever it takes, and I'm going to have a really snark remark for anything, too.
Well, I mean, it was a great scene. Great. But what I'm wondering now is now Jaime knows that it was not Tyrion who killed Joffrey. And so now Cersei is going to also know that it was not Tyrion who killed Joffrey. And I wonder if that's going to change her mind about Tyrion or...
I doubt it.
It won't change her mind.
I was never a crazy fan of this lady, but I think until actually this scene made me really tie into her moves. I thought it was awesome. I saw him pour the wine, and I was like, okay, something's going to happen with this wine. It's been sitting here for a long time, and she just seems to win every time they talk, and she gets the last word, and he doesn't even, I think Big C over here said that he was going to stab her, but I think he pretty much knew he had lost, and it was over. And
she exposes Jaime's Achilles heel too. She looks at him.
Amen.
Oh God, you love her, you poor fool. She will be your undoing. And of course, Jaime's like, no, that's not true.
Well, I actually thought Jaime was like, probably. Yeah. He's like, yeah, but I love her. You boys are really young, probably too young to be watching this show. Have you ever loved anybody that if they did a mass murder bomb, you would still be on their side? Let's hear from these young Casanovas, yes or no?
Hopefully not. And at least if they were, which they weren't, but if they were, it's not my sister.
Okay, fair enough.
You don't have a sister.
How about that, Jack? What do you think?
They would have to be really pretty.
Vain.
Maybe if it was like a Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition model,
no, brother.
I would do it.
That is weep for the future, everyone. These two, but Jaime is. I think that's a great bit of foreshadowing. So many people think, because of certain book prophecies and hints, that maybe Jaime will be the one who undoes Cersei. But once again, I think there's just as much of a chance, and this episode seems to hint, that Cersei could take care of the one-armed bandit, the man who stole Highgarden. I just think so. Sorry, Big C, were you going to say something? Any other thoughts on Jaime and Cersei's relationship here at the end?
Well, what is the prophecy about Cersei?
Well, this is only in the books. It's not in the show, so there's a chance. So there's a chance it may not be in the show at all. But at the beginning of season 5, there was a flashback to when Cersei was a child. She went and visited a woods witch, and the woods witch told her several prophecies, including that her 3 blonde, golden-crowned children would die. The woods witch in the book said another prophecy that this Valonqar would strangle the life out of her after a younger and more beautiful queen kind of took everything she had. The Valonqar in High Valyrian means younger brother. That could be Jaime or Tyrion, But, of course, as we found out multiple times in this show, even though there's I think his name's Peterson, the guy who creates High Valyrian, he says, no, the Valonqar is a word that means male. But some people have said, but if it's a sexless word like the prince who was promised, there's a chance the Valonqar could mean younger sister or younger brother who strangles Cersei to death. So we don't really know. I think it'd be interesting. And Jack, sorry, you want to jump in. What?
Her hatred for Tyrion stems from that, because even though she refuses to acknowledge it or believe it, she knows that everything that woman has said has come true, and that's why, Tyrion killing their father and Tyrion allegedly killing Joffrey are all just excuses for her to try to kill him.
All right. Well, I want to put out this. I think I've done it on social media, but I have come up with my own new crazy theory, is that if Jaime is known as the Kingslayer, he's known as the Kingslayer because he killed the Mad King, because the Mad King was going to burn King's Landing to the ground. If he killed one king because of that, but he didn't kill Cersei. I guess Cersei had already done it, so maybe what's the point at that? Plus, he loves her. There's a part of me that thinks maybe Jaime, after Cersei's gone, will burn King's Landing to the ground and be like, if I don't have Cersei, what do I have to live for? Everything's ruined. Burn them all. And then Jaime, who killed the king to stop the city from burning to the ground, I would see it as kind of bitter poetic irony if Jaime then, without Cersei, said, screw it, and he was the one who lit the city to the ground. That's just a crazy theory. Listeners, if you have different theories, we want you to go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/double P podcast. That's the word double, the single letter P, the word podcasts, plural, facebook.com/double P podcast. Tell us what your theories are for the end of those twincest lovers. All right, guys, we've only got 4 more episodes in this year. We might be taking all of 2018 off. Only 4 more episodes. Let's go around. What does everybody want to see in these final 4 episodes? Is there something you need to see for Season 7 to be the ultimate season for you?
Winter.
The White Walkers, are they ever coming?
Yeah, we need them. That's a good point.
I've already said what I want to see. Ghost.
Well, I you would think, even if it's difficult, even if it's expensive, if Ghost, since Nymeria gave Arya the cold shoulder, or the hey, this is my pack, you find your pack look, you would think that Ghost has got to show up this year. This was an episode with so many of our recurring characters dying. This was an episode where really it was just no Brienne, no Pod. Obviously, Tormund's gone to the wall. We didn't have Arya, yet it was still good. It was still great. Anybody want to revise their ranking? Jack, you going to stay 7 out of 10, or are you going to come to this crazy high the rest of us are on?
It's a 7. I think everyone needs to just calm down. Not really that much happened. There was a lot of electricity. There were a lot of good stare downs. But it's all build up to the end.
Okay, well, we've got a month less of ending. Let's go around the horn again. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media, where they can disagree with you. I have a feeling, Will, after all your trash talking, people will disagree with you the most. There's still no Instagram account, Snapchat account.
You can still tweet John Fitton,
Wait.
but you can use my name, and I will respond accordingly.
All right, how about you, Jack?
You can find me at JCM741 on Twitter.
And I am at Caroline1475.
This is Bubba. You can find me on Twitter at FitandTrim. That's FITTENTRIM. At FitandTrim on Twitter. And I feel like in this episode that's 10 out of 10, I need to go out on one more good laugh line. Dany is talking trash. She's like, did you see my dragons? Did you see my Dothraki? Jon Snow, who's not known for much comedy. Yeah, they're kind of hard to miss there. So, guys, once again, all you have to do is retweet us when we put out the link to the new podcast, share the Facebook post on the podcast, like the Facebook page. 2 prizes next week. Most likely, once again, there'll be those Ramin Djawadi steins and posters, which is the music of Game of Thrones, the notes written out that he signed. We'll probably give away 2 more of those next week. And then some big prizes at the end of this season. When we get to episode 7 of season 7, we're going to be giving away that autographed copy of the softback edition of A Game of Thrones autographed by George R.R. Martin.
That is really cool. So you don't think there's going to be any Game of Thrones in 2018?
This is what... There are going to be 6 episodes left in the final season 8. HBO is hinting, and they just had the TCAs, that's the Television Critic Association fall press tour, where they came and talked to television critics about upcoming things. The HBO president implies that season 8 of those 6 episodes, every episode may be feature length. They might be 6 episodes at about 90 minutes. But he also says that even though the scripts have been written, they haven't started filming it yet, and because those episodes are going to be extra long, and you would assume with a lot of action, that they may hold out all of 2018. They'll give us, HBO fans like Westworld, so they'll give you Westworld in 2018, but not Game of Thrones for a whole year. That's probably my worst prediction. You listeners...
No!
My question is, when is George R.R. Martin going to come out with the next book?
Well, that was the other recent news, is George kind of depressed everybody and said he's been working on an anthology of a kind of another story set in Westeros that he believes will be out in 2018. But then he says there's a chance, of course, he's not going to get anybody's hopes up. He said there's a chance the Winds of Winter would also be in 2018. So that would probably be the only thing that could tide us a year, is if he gives us another book. A book which, theoretically, the show is well past The Winds of Winter in 2018. Listeners, once again, we don't have ads. We do this because we love interacting with you. Go to the Facebook page and just interact with us on anything. If there's anything Will said and you want to hunt this guy down, go on and let us know. We'll see you next week on the Joffrey of Podcasts.